All right, guys, so now that you've decided how you're going to organize your paper once you get your information, we now have to actually do the research. But before you get doing the research, there's some things that you got to consider when you're taking notes on your research. Some of those things you consider are you going to quote something, paraphrase something, or summarize something? Because there's a big difference between those things. And the better you do them on your outline or your notes, the easier your paper will be to write. So, I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this. What are the differences between them? Well, quotes, they have to be identical to the original, and you only use a narrow or small segment of the source. So you're literally using a sentence or two, and it must match word for word. Okay, so you're not able to change it in any way if you're using a quote. Now, a quote doesn't have to be something that is said by somebody. A quote quite literally means that you quoted a source. It can be any sentence from or to from the source, cannot be changed. So for example, direct quoting. If I use the quote, vaccines have a 0.05% chance of giving a patient a negative physical reaction that will cause distress. Obviously, I just made this up. I'm only doing it for purposes of to show you the differences. So, here's my example. The definition direct quote means word for word. So direct quoting means you're using it word for word, and it looks just like this. Paraphrasing involves putting a passage into your own words, and it must be attributed to the original source, of course. It's usually shorter than the original passage, but taking a broader segment. So usually it's paraphrasing means that you take and paraphrase a paragraph, perhaps, rather than one quote. So this would be a paragraph from the source in your own words. So I might, and it doesn't have to be quotations because I'm putting it in my own words, but I might say, according to Dr. Smith, vaccines do have a small chance of giving a patient negative side effects once he or she has gone home. These effects can have some mild discomfort to the patient and should be gone in about 24 hours. Now, this is more information than the direct quote, but I still need to put my quotation because this is, though it's in my own words, it's still not my ideas. It's the idea that came from that paragraph. The next one is summarizing, which means putting in the main idea in your own words and including only the main points. And you still have to attribute the summarized ideas to the original source, but it's typically a lot shorter and broader. So, for example, this is a short, broad explanation of main points in your own words. So what that might look like here is if I said vaccines have negative side effects that only last for a short time and only happen few and far between. Again, put my citation. So paraphrasing is a little more in depth. Summarizing is just the main point. They do have side effects. They're short time, few and far between. So this is what it would look like: direct quoting, paraphrasing, or summarizing. Here's another example. The original passage is here. Here's a paraphrase, here's a summary, and then here's a plagiarized version, because sometimes we do make our summary sound too close to the original. So if you could, I would like you to pause this video and read this to yourself to see the difference. Okay, now that you have read this and you know the difference between direct quoting, paraphrasing, and summarizing, notice direct quoting has the quotations and the citation at the end. Paraphrasing and summarizing do not have quotes because they're not word for word, but they still have the citation at the end. Your job now is to conduct your own research. You'll be using this outline here to do that research. You'll put the citation of the source here, and then you'll take your notes. And this is the spot where you'll decide if you're going to direct quote from that source or if you're going to summarize or paraphrase. And again, if done well, it will help your paper be written a lot easier if this is done right. So if you have any questions about paraphrasing, direct quoting, or summarizing, please come to my virtual class time and I will be able to answer those questions for you, or you can email me, text me, call me, whatever you need. Good luck, and I hope it goes well for you. And make sure your sources are credible.